The 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, Spain was notable for a couple reasons. Number one, it was the first Olympics to take place after the end of the Cold War. It was also the first Olympics after the Berlin Wall fell down, and it was the first Olympics in 32 years that was allowing South Africa to compete again. Now, the big talk about the athletes was about the 1992 men's basketball team because that was the first time NBA players were allowed to compete in the Olympics. But I don't want to talk about them right now. I want to talk about Dan and Dave.
Dan can throw a 16-pound shot put 53 feet 3 inches. Dave can hurl a javelin 236 feet. This summer, they'll battle it out in Barcelona for the title of world's greatest athlete.
These were two decathletes that were part of an ad campaign that started on Super Bowl Sunday 1992. Dan O'Brien and Dave Johnson were both favored to win medals at the Barcelona Games. This was also a big deal for Reebok. They had fell off the charts. Nike had pushed way above them, and they wanted a comeback, and they thought that maybe these two athletes could give it to them. These commercials would feature Dan and Dave's moms and girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, wives, the paper boy, the mailman. The real charm to this ad campaign was, outside of people that regularly followed track and field events, nobody knew who these two guys were, but very soon we all were cheering for one or the other as we followed these commercials. This seemed like a brilliant plan, and the commercials were on the television every single day. Whatever you tuned in, you were likely to see one of these Reebok ads. And then, 5 weeks before the Olympics, something terrible happened. Dan O'Brien went to the Olympic trials in New Orleans. Now, he's favored to win a medal, so he of course is going to make the team. But he doesn't. He missed the pole vault, and he was out. So Reebok scrambled and came up with the only thing they could, which was an ad campaign where O'Brien was on the sidelines cheering on Johnson.
Now let's watch Dave Johnson as he watches Dan O'Brien's jump.
Johnson was ready to compete, but he did have a nagging foot injury, which kind of held him back a bit, and he took bronze at the Olympics, which means two other guys actually should have been in that ad campaign. Dave Johnson retired after that Olympics. O'Brien went on to compete again in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta and did great. He won the gold medal. It was one Olympics too late, though. The two guys remained friends, and both of them were inducted together into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame in the year 2005. They also did a series of satirical Ryder truck ads.
Dan O'Brien?
Okay, Dan. I'll show you two trucks.
What's that name again? Dave!
But this was all right for the home viewer because they got to watch the Olympic Dream Team, the men's basketball team. See, prior to this Olympics, the FIBA ruled that NBA players just couldn't compete. So we put up our best collegiate players, but we were competing against other countries which were putting up their best professional players. Because of this, the previous Olympics in 1988 saw the U.S. lose to the USSR. And we had to settle for bronze in a sport that was invented here in the United States. The bronze finish was the worst that the U.S. men's basketball team had ever done in the history of the Olympics. So the USA basketball team reached out to the NBA and they said, we want players for the 1992 Olympics. September 21st, 1991, they announced the initial players that are going to be on the USA men's basketball team. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen of the Chicago Bulls. John Stockton and Karl Malone of the Utah Jazz. Also Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Chris Mullin, and David Robinson and Charles Barkley. And then on May 12th of 1992, they announced the final professional player, and it wasn't Isaiah Thomas. Instead, they chose Clyde Drexler. And they had decided to choose one collegiate player, and that was Christian Laettner. He was chosen over Shaquille O'Neal. Most of the players were at the very top of their game. Larry Bird was towards the end of his career. He was suffering from a bad back, but they wanted him on the team because of the historic nature of it, and he was one of the most popular basketball players that ever lived. David Robinson was excited to be on the team because he had competed in the Olympics in 1988 in the team that took the bronze medal. Magic Johnson had just retired from the NBA back in 1991. He was playing for the Lakers, diagnosed with HIV, decided he needed to end his career, but this was one shiny final moment for him. Now, there's a lot of speculation about why Isaiah Thomas wasn't chosen. Apparently, Michael Jordan hated him so much that he said the only way he was competing on that Olympic team was if Isaiah Thomas wasn't. Isaiah Thomas had played on the Detroit Pistons. They were bitter rivals with Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls. They had played real rough against Michael Jordan in the playoffs, and Michael Jordan wanted nothing to do with them. The actual Olympics was anticlimactic. I mean, they won every game by like 44 points. And in the end, they beat Croatia to win the gold medal. Now, Dan and Dave, an Olympic failure. The Dream Team, an Olympic success. The Olympic triple cast was the biggest debacle of them all. This was an experimental idea that NBC had that maybe they could get people to purchase pay-per-view events from the Olympic Games. NBC had the exclusive rights to the Olympic Games, and they thought, well, maybe people would pay for it if they could watch the games live, which came up during the regular programming during the day. So normally they'd be shown on tape delay. And they thought we could create packages for people starting at $95, going all the way up to $170 to watch these games live. They partnered with Cablevision of New York to create 3 pay-per-view channels. They were calling the first one red, the second one white, the third one blue. They even produced a special 3-button remote control just for this Olympic Games with a red, white, and blue button so you could immediately jump to your favorite Olympic events. They mailed this remote control out free to just about every customer in the hopes that they'd see it and say, oh, what do I do with these buttons? Better order these channels. These channels broadcast from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. showing 12 hours of Olympic Games on each of the 3 channels. The Philadelphia Inquirer called this the biggest failure since New Coke. People just didn't want to pay for the Olympic Games that they could watch for free at night. They made a game for the Sega Master System about this Olympics. Now, for the Olympics, they always build different structures, arenas, buildings. For this, they built the Montjuïc Tower in Barcelona. It took 3 years to build. It's kind of weird looking, but the idea behind it was supposed to look like a runner holding that Olympic torch, and this was used as a giant transmitter to broadcast those Olympic Games. Every Olympics has a mascot, and the Barcelona Games had Cobi. This is him. He appears to be naked. He's got the Olympic logo on his chest, which kind of makes it look like he has one boob and then curly hair growing down by his belly button. Cobi was available in plush and on keychains and pins, and there were giant inflatables of him at the event. He even inspired his very own animated TV series. But the U.S. Olympic team, we didn't want anything to do with Cobi. This Cabbage Patch Kid was our official mascot for the USA Olympic team for all sports, and they would give these out to all of the athletes. This was supposed to be their forever friend, and actually it came with a letter that told them to keep the doll, and if they wanted to, any of those Olympic athletes, they could go to the local children's hospitals in Barcelona, and they'd be provided with plenty of these dolls to hand out. Look at this. I got this postcard from Sarah, who's on my Patreon page. This is from the 1996 Olympic Games. This is Izzy. Far better mascot, I think, than Cobi. I don't know if he's better than that Cabbage Patch Kid, though. I got a soft spot in my heart for Cabbage Patch Kids. I love them. Cabbage Patch Kids remind me of, like, nice versions of Garbage Pail Kids. By the way, if you want a postcard from me, you can sign up for Patreon, but you can't have this one. I'm keeping this one. But I will be shipping out some postcards like this one with a bunch of flowers on it in Sterling Forest Gardens fall displays. This outdoor entertainment is located in Tuxedo, New York. I don't even know where that is, but you don't have to go there. I'll mail you a postcard from there. It's just $3. Big thanks to everybody on Patreon. Chris, Cheese God, Matthew, David, Chapin, Awkward But Awesome, the Earl and Duchess of Sandwich. It's a good group. You know you want to join them. Look at this. On eBay right now, you could get for $29 this Olympic jacket. I mean, I'd look pretty good with that. Ooh, these are cool. These are the McDonald's cups. So Michael Jordan was the spokesman for McDonald's at the time, which I'm sure he never ate. Whoa, for $9,000, I could have an Olympic medal. I'd wear it everywhere. So this says this was an unawarded winner's medal. So hasn't been awarded yet because I haven't gotten the $9,000 to pay for it. Yeah, here we go. Here's a Cobi action figure. Look at him there. He at least has some clothes on in this, which I like. Talked about the Olympics recently on this channel. There was an Olympian named Dominique Mucciano. You may remember, 1996 Olympics, she was the youngest member of the gymnastics team. Well, it turns out she had a secret sister. This was a story about an amazing child born without legs who went on to be an amazing gymnast as well. She performed on the Britney Spears circus tour. I talked about her as well as two doppelganger baseball players that also blew my mind. All of that is in a video that's right up here. Otherwise, YouTube says that this one is best for you. And there's a second channel that's over here. I'll see you next time.